tavern doors you stroll in, from the wet and from the cold. Grab a friend and grab a chair, raise your mugs into the air. Warm your hearts with golden ale, stomp your boots in time with me. Sing along, the tune is fair, pitch right in and tell your tale. Through the tavern doors you stroll in, from wet and from the cold. Candles flicker on the beam, smoke and laughter thread between. Grab a friend and grab a chair, raise your mugs into the air. Fiddles scrape a merry line, tankards thud in steady time. The fire is stoked, the table's clean, the girls are nice but quick and keen. Travelers shake off road and rain, lean in close and call your name. Warm your hearts with golden ale, stomp your boots and raise a hail. Grab a book or find a bard, telling tales is not that hard. Sing along, the tune is clear, pitch right in so all can hear. Sing along, the tune is clear, pitch right in so all can hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Awesome.
Hey, Monarch.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Not too bad.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, do you want me to send out a message to JoJo or see if?
Let me shoot him a message. If you want to also shoot him a message, you can.
All right. Well, I think one of us doing it should be enough. Oh, let's see. Someone popped in. Maybe that's him. Nope, that's Robbie. Hello, Robbie. Good to see you. All right.
Robbie.
And just to let you know, if for some reason JoJo doesn't make it, which fingers crossed, I hope he does, I can stick around for reading and commenting. So you don't have to be in a panic that you're left alone. But
well, thank you.
Hopefully he makes it very shortly.
Hopefully.
He is currently online.
Oh, good.
And congratulations to you on this new show. What a wonderful idea.
Well, thank you. I sort of an avid book reader, so.
Oh, it's a perfect topic for you then. And I like the idea. I like it. So
awesome.
did you
I messaged him. I haven't heard anything yet.
What's that?
I said I messaged JoJo. Haven't heard anything yet.
Okay. And I messaged him on All Poetry. My message wasn't very long. It was just the show link and the show time with an exclamation point. But well, I mean, if you'd like, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your show, Books and Bards, the whole premise of it, and, maybe if there's anything else you'd like to mention.
Alrighty. I can do that. Well, Welcome to Books and Bards, where unforgettable lines are transformed and given new lives. We take inspiration from well-known books and turn them into poetry prompts, then invite poets of all ages and abilities to see where the ideas lead. We explore how single lines viewed through the different lenses of experience can produce a variety of meter, metaphor, and meaning. Together, we'll discover how simple quotes from the page can unfold into poems all their own. Like I said, I'm an avid book reader and loving poetry. I basically just picked a handful of my favorite quotes and turned it into a contest to see what other people got out of them. So
very nice. Very nice. I like that. I like that. Really cool idea to be able to focus on one book at a time, because sometimes it's books can make a single book can make all the difference. Like I've even heard of people and who don't like to read. I was not one of those people. I was like you when I was younger. I was a very avid reader. But sometimes it takes a person, a child, finding the right book to really spark their interest.
That was me. I did not discover my love of learning until my love of reading until after high school. So
Okay. Yeah, and that does happen. It's got to be the right book, the right topic. I have to admit, I have not read, other than her poetry, I have not read any of Ayn Rand, or, you know,
Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
Well, she's definitely a political author, so. And her books are not what I would consider light reading. But the book we're talking about tonight is called Atlas Shrugged. And the premise of the book is that basically all of the great minds in the US have gone on strike, and the political minds.
I am so sorry about that.
Have basically, yeah. The political minds are just basically making everything unbearable. So, like, I think at one point it mentions that gas is like $45 a gallon or something in the book, and it's pretty intense, but it's a very interesting concept. So
sounds like it for sure. Well, and I know, like, from what I read about her, she was a very intelligent person.
Yes.
And she had a lot of thoughts to share. She was she had a lot of thoughts to share, and just really had some ideas, some very important and modern ideas for the times,
Yes.
And absolutely. So great choice. Great choice to start this new show off with. I am going to go ahead and I am going to go grab Robbie, because he said he could join us on stage for about a half hour or so, and help with some reading and commenting. So there we go. Welcome, Robbie. Glad you could join us.
Hello, Pam. Hello, Monarch. Congratulations on the new show.
Thank you.
I just had to go out and come back in because I wasn't actually signed in. I was like, it lets you in with your name, but I was afraid that if I wasn't actually signed in, then it might not let me go in with my mic. So,
Oh,
yeah.
well, glad you're here. Well, have you read the book our quotes are from this evening?
I missed a little bit of that when I was logging back in. Which book was that again?
Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Oh no, I haven't. I've heard a lot about Ayn Rand. Just such a she's one of those. I think she's one of those people. Either you like her or you don't. It's not much.
Yes, she's a you like her or you don't kind of a writer.
She was. What is? Am I totally missing the mark in terms of definition? Like, would you call her a libertarian, or is it one of those things where other people will call her that, but if you had called her that, she would be like, "No way, I'm not a libertarian."
I think so. I think it's more of that. Other people might call her that, but I don't think she would have called herself that.
Okay, yeah. It's funny because I was just reading about, or I was just telling somebody about Atlas Shrugged like 2 days ago at the coffee shop. So, yeah. And with Atlas Shrugged, it is more her. It was, I can't remember if it was it kind of like her. It's basically her philosophy, right? Or was it more biographical?
It's basically it was her pushback against like socialism, like doing everything for the group instead of for the individual. So it's just like, yeah.
I find that interesting because to me it's a balance where if you go too individualistic, then it kind of destroys everything around you. But if you go too group minded, then it's like groupthink and you sacrifice everything for the group. And actually there's 2 video games back to back, BioShock and BioShock 2. And the first one shows what happens when you have extreme individualism. And the second one shows what happens when you have extreme collectivism. And both of them go catastrophically wrong. But anyways.
Yeah. Hers was, this particular book was extreme socialism, like everything for the community, and not necessarily in a good way either. It was
well, because it's funny because I was saying to the guy at the coffee shop that I wouldn't read the book, but here I guess it's my karma, right? Here I am I'm gonna be commenting about it. Anyways, so do you want to get into it now?
Let's go ahead and get started. I finished judging this contest early this week, and so we're gonna kind of go in order of judging. We're gonna start with the person I gave the gold to. So give me just a second and I will grab that. This is Contradictions Do Not Exist by Ben Thiessen. This is going to be our first one. Robbie, do you want to start us off and read that for us?
All right. Let's see here. Go to my tab. I'm glad I didn't close out AP now. I almost did, but then this way I don't have to log back in. Contradictions do not exist. Oh, wow. I was just talking about that too. This is trippy. Okay, contradictions do not exist. The unabridged edition. This is wild. I was very perplexed to see contradictions don't exist. So I sat at my desk in the dawn of the night, watching the sunset in the east as it does. And earlier that day, in the midst of midnight, my wife and I walked hand in hand on opposite sides of the street. Now back at my desk, I looked at the clock and I realized it was an hour earlier, even though I had been writing all night. You see, I've been toying with the idea to write a new novel about a life without conflict, with a length of a page or two. But somewhere outdoors on the counter in my kitchen, the telephone rang, even though I'd been stolen last week. It was my wife this time, telling her flight had arrived, wondering how much time it would take me to get there. I felt so ashamed, actually more embarrassed that I had awakened her from her afternoon nap in the den. So I returned to my desk, looked at the fading moonlight, reflecting its rays across a fresh coat of snow, which led to a chill, so I opened the windows wide open to let in some cold. But then my anxiety quieted as the warmth of the sun revealed the sky filled with stars and a heavenly colored blue hue. And out of that blue, a startle of panic because my children were ill, waiting at the bus stop with my wife, still fighting the urge to sit down and sleep because the day had been short. I was feeling wide awake, so I headed to my room to slumber into the previous day. So, as I stand here, lying in bed, I was never more content, knowing contradictions were never real. End poem.
Thank you. Awesome read of that. Pam, do you want to start us off with a comment?
Yeah, I would be happy to. I'm very glad to see that Ben Thiessen shared this right with us. This has very thoughtful lines. And let's see here. I like the straightforward style of this, how it speaks on the idea of everyday life. At least it seems to me to speak on the idea of everyday life triggering our anxiety, triggering our emotional state, and how difficult it can be sometimes just to deal with the little things that build up. I like how with the first person narrative and the touch on personal thoughts, that it feels like confession style poetry. And I like how he brings the relationship between him and his wife, him and his family, into the idea of, is it time to write that novel? Is it time to move on to that next stage of my creative process? And I thought there was great lines throughout. But I especially liked, but somewhere outdoors on the counter in my kitchen, the telephone rang, even though it had been stolen last week. That is a great humorous line. It was my wife this time telling her flight had arrived, wondering how much time it would take me to get there. I felt so ashamed, actually more embarrassed that I had awakened her from her afternoon nap in the den. It's also that idea that writing a novel or anything that takes your full attention is going to be such a distraction that it can be difficult to focus on the rest of life. So excellent write by Ben Thiessen, and very well done.
Thank you. Wonderful comment there. I agree. This is a beautiful poem. I found it fun, actually. It says contradictions do not exist, the unabridged, and yet every stanza has a contradiction built into it, but in a way that I guess pulls it all together. It's both startling and sort of refreshing all at the same time, right? My wife and I walked hand in hand on opposite sides of the street. And I have to wonder, well, that's not physically possible. How often do we walk down a street with someone and we're either mentally or emotionally on opposite sides of the street? And then this idea of, toying with the idea to write a new novel with a length of only a page or two. I was like, how many people can write a novel in only 2 pages? It contradicts itself. But I mean, if you think about it, what we do is write poetry, and what is poetry but a novel that's fit into 1 or 2 pages? And so I thoroughly enjoyed this poem, and I enjoyed the way he presented it. So it's a very good write. Robbie, you read it. Would you like to comment, please?
Yeah, the poem, I think it's cool when a poem goes in the direction either you completely didn't expect or you completely expected it to. And this one, like as soon as I read the title, it's like, well, I think contradictions actually do exist. And again, that's the conversation that I had like 10 minutes ago. But then I realized, wait a minute, I think in his poem, he's actually going to list contradictions and affirm that they do exist. And sure enough, he did that. And I think maybe there's an angst. I don't know if it's intended or not, but maybe there's an angst presented in this poem that, like, I have a poem called "Embrace the Paradox," and like that's it. When you embrace a paradox, contradiction, it can be very liberating because you understand how the world actually works. But if you're not ready for it, it's too existentially dreadful for you, and so you're like in denial. You're like, no, this doesn't happen, like that your wife can, like, not a strict contradiction, but let's say that your wife loves you but isn't close to you anymore, right? That's kind of, it's not the strongest form of a contradiction, but it is kind of a contradiction because they love you, but they don't feel as connected to you anymore. So, they don't spend as much time with you in that. And if you come to the realization that if you embrace that is what's happening, then you can do something about it. But if you just say, well, no, that's not possible. My wife still loves me, and so she's close to me. Well, guess what, buddy? You're gonna have problems. And so this poem makes me think about how that can happen, and how you're in either one of those 2 places. Oh my god, my day's just winding down, I can barely talk. And either you embrace what life is actually like in this regard, or you don't, and you get the consequences of either of those decisions.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think as far as, contradictions go, I think the physical world has very few of them, but once you cross into the emotional world, I think you run the risk of swimming in them, because how often do our emotions contradict each other? I definitely have seen people where they describe their relationship as a love-hate relationship, which is a contradiction in and of itself. So I think they did a very good job on this. So thank you for your comment. All right. Up next is There Is No I in This Team by Charlie J. Lewis. I gave him the bronze in this contest. And he has a SoundCloud. Pam, do you know how to post those?
Did you get the SoundCloud into Speakeasy for Jean?
I think so. It might have been late though.
Oh, okay. Well, you're can you put up something else, and
Yeah,
I'll reach out to her because I don't load the SoundClouds. She does.
okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, we will come back to that one. We will move on. We will move on to The Fraying and the Hold by Kathy Cross. And I gave her an honorable mention. All right. And I will go ahead and read that. Actually, hold on. Here we go. The Fraying and the Fold by Kathy Cross. Walking the edge where tensions pull the braided strands of we and I, a pressure gathers, poised to recoil. A single thread vibrates in reply. Masses can tighten like weathered rope, their knots demanding a piece of soul. Silence thins the tensile shape of hope. A fraying cord begins. Fear the snapping under the many, a thread absorbed in a woven trapeze. Lacking slack but not having any, a line lets go of certainty. For strain can suddenly alter course. A pull reveals what binds us most. A push exposes where we need more force. The turning twine that honors both. Freedom is not from humankind, but shared resilience in ties that bind. End poem. All right. Do I need to read that again? Sorry, the sleeping baby just started to cry in the middle of it.
I think I got enough of it. I think Pam probably did too. I can't speak for her, but I got enough of it to. And the thing is, I followed along. Like especially as soon as the baby started to cry a little bit, I just whenever something like that happens, I just follow along in the reading, like the post, and that way I can still follow along. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. All right, Pam, were you able to listen to that one?
No, I'll need you to have Robbie and you comment first, and then I'll comment.
Okay, that's fine. I'll go first. So I enjoyed this. So I like the way Kathy I guess twined the ideas of we and I like a rope. I loved the metaphors in this one. So here it is. Fear of snapping under the many, a thread absorbed in a woven trapeze, lacking slack when not having any, a line lets go of certainty. So this idea of getting lost or absorbed inside of a tightrope or a trapeze rope, because you're, I guess, too busy having to hold up against all of the pressure around you. You also lose certainty and strength of your own. And so I very much enjoyed the metaphor of that. And she did a really good job carrying that metaphor all the way through her poem. So I think she did a very good job. What do you think, Robbie?
Oh, this poem was powerful for me because the physicality of it in the description, all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, it reminds me of that. Because as a lot of people in Late Night Poets know, on April 11th, I sustained a minor concussion. And when the accident happened, in my brain, like two events, it was like two dots that came together and made me go, ah. And I felt like I snapped a bit because I was assaulted, not too badly, but assault is assault, right? Off of the when I got off the bus in late December or early December, no, more like early December, and that event and the the shelving falling on my head just came together and it was like the rope had just been twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted, and something in the brain just snapped, and I just had enough, right? So I kind
Mhm.
of both physically and emotionally felt that in that moment, and this poem reminds me of that. And you realize, like, in a moment when things connect together like that, like it says, for strain can suddenly alter course, a pull reveals what binds us most. And it reminds you that the inner strength you can actually have when traumatic events happen to you, but also it reminds you
Mhm.
of what your snapping point is. And for me, like, even when the incident in December had happened, that I felt like that was too much. That was a turning point. But then when I got bonked on the head, that really was too much. And I took far more time. Well, I actually was unsteady on my feet, and I was judicious with the time that I took off of work. But it was because of that, because I was actually not steady on my feet, but also I just needed time to truly recover, right? Because those two things together it was just too much. So the poem reminded me of that, like how just you reach those points of tension where the like especially like you said, like the rope, and the rope just twists and twists and twists, and you think you think it can just keep going, but one day the ropes fray, the fibers fray, and the rope just snaps, and then you're like, oh
Yeah,
crap.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you ready, Pam?
Yes, yes. And just to let you know, that the SoundCloud for the poem that you were going to put up, the one by Charlie J. Lewis, his SoundCloud is marked private. So if you want, either you can do one of things, you can save it and let him know that he needs to mark it as public in order for us to be able to use it, and we could carry it over to next week, or just have somebody read it, or however you want to handle it. But as of right now, we can't use it because it's marked private. Okay?
Alrighty.
All
I'll talk
right.
to him about it. We'll probably have someone read it today, and then if he wants us to play the SoundCloud, we can try next week.
That sounds like a good plan. That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, I've been enjoying seeing Kathy Cross's poetry lately. I really appreciate her writing. This is definitely a strong, visceral poem. I like how it talks to me about feeling overwhelmed. There's amazing imagery and metaphors, a great consistency in tone. This is an excellent write that speaks to me on feeling overwhelmed and finding resilience in difficult times. And I really thought this had great lines all the way through, but the second and third stanzas especially stood out to me, with the mention of, that second stanza with the mention of weathered rope and knots demanding a piece of soul and a fraying cord. All feels like, that saying at the end of your rope, just feeling like you're going to snap, that you've had enough of it all. So just an amazing write by Kathy Cross, and very well done.
I agree. Thank you. All right. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie The Guardian. It's about the Coast Guard. Anyway, there's a point in the movie where they're pulling people up to the helicopter with the line, the cable, and the cable snaps, and they end up dropping somebody anyway. And so this tensile, like, rope thing, it reminded me of that particular scene in this movie, and it's just it's sort of an intense, like, a very vivid piece of imagery. So I really enjoyed it. All right.
I
Let's go.
remember that movie. Oh my gosh, there were points where it brought tears to my eyes. That's a really good
Yes,
movie.
it really is. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Uh, so let's move on. Let's go back to this one by Charlie J. Lewis. All right. This is There Is No I in This Team by Charlie J. Lewis, and I gave him the bronze in this contest. Pam, would you like to read this for us?
I would be happy to. We are friends, I believed foolishly. We were friends, now the grammar's corrected. We are the product of a failed pair of supposedly parallel lines. We shouldn't be connected by any means in the thesaurus. We are having resonance like the temple's gong and the clock tower's bell. We are a coincidence, an unwanted disturbance. I am done with the monster of we. I was inane, stupid, mockingly pure to the world. I am now smarter, sharper, seeing more truth from the lies. I am the center of a circle, fine without the tangents. I should be the antonym of whatever your definition is. I am having dissonance, getting experimental with those jazz and microtones. I am the independent event, bothered by no action of yours. End poem.
Beautiful read, Pam. Thank you. And great poem. Robbie, would you like to comment first?
Yeah, the images on this were great. It was I haven't heard antonym. Oh my god, I haven't heard that word used in such a long time. Synonyms, antonyms. It's funny because even if you hear those two words, you usually hear synonyms, not antonyms. I don't know why. But I love the way they paired antonym of your whatever your definition is, and then they mentioned dissonance, getting experimental with those jazz and microtones. And I was like, oh, bloody brilliant, buddy. Because the thing is, jazz is it has more like minor keys in that musically wise. It's much more of a experimental in free form than others. Like it's not as formalized in its structure. And then you have microtones, and again, that's like the musical thing, right? Part of jazz in that, and dissonance. So like the dissonance would naturally part. I think he's probably talking about cognitive dissonance, which is like the one of the worst things you can have, especially when it's like willful. It's like, yeah, he did say that, and I believe him, even though they didn't. They never said that, and you're just believing it because it'll give you comfort. Leaving politics out of this. So many politicians we can talk about that have give people dissonance. Zip your lips, Rob. And anyways, and yeah, and I love that. I am the independent event bothered by no action of yours. Oh, I love that. I was reading like an I Ching thing, and it has like these different icons, like hexagrams they're called, and the one for me was actually talking about not letting the ego get bothered by people, especially if they're trying to get you angry, to reject that, or either to stand up for it or reject that and not let your ego react to it. Because when you let the ego react to it, then you get entangled, right? And all of a sudden they're taking up headspace in your head, and they're affecting you, and you can't do that, right? You can't let yourself fall into that trap. So I thought of I thought of that. It's just funny how the poems today are just plugging into so many of the things that I've been looking at. So yeah, very ironic for a contest where I said that I would never read the book, but just because you don't like the source of the, you don't necessarily like the source of the inspiration, doesn't mean that good poetry can't come from it. That means, it just means philosophically you don't quite agree with the source is all. That makes it that makes it an interesting experience, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah. So thank you. Great comment. I agree. The imagery in this is awesome. We're having resonance like the temple's gong and the clock tower's bell. That's crazy. I just like imagine like having a bell ring with my head inside of it. It's like, oh my gosh, that's got to be like super disturbing. But the way they go from we to I appreciated the transition here. It starts with we are friends and then corrects to we were friends. And then the I'm done with the monster of we. So you can see the I'm fed up with we not working, and what's happening with this. And so now I'm done. I'm fed up, right? And so I throw my hands in the air and I move on, is sort of the feeling I got from this. And then learning from that experience, right? It says, I'm now smarter, sharper, seeing more truth from the lies. I'm the center of a circle, fine without the tangents. So they've learned how to, I guess, put themselves first so that they can take care of themselves without necessarily needing the other person, right? We is better when it works together for both people instead of one person getting more out of the relationship than someone else. And so I appreciate the way this looks like it wasn't a balanced we, and they figured that out, and then they moved on and then redefined the balance with them in the middle. Anyway, so I very much enjoyed the way they did this. I am not super familiar with jazz. I had to look that up a little bit, but I enjoyed the overall poem. It was very well done, and I enjoyed the way they did it. So great job, Charlie Lewis.
There is a episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's hilarious. I love it. Where Riker introduces Worf's son to jazz, and he loves it. And he said, "Is dissonant? Is dissonant, chaotic noise?" And Worf's he's just having a hissy fit. He hates it. And you've introduced my son to this music. It is dissonant and it is noisy, blah blah blah. And Riker just says with a smug voice, "It's jazz." It can tell Worf wants to hit him with every bit of Klingon strength that he has. I loved it. It was hilarious. How dare you introduce my son to jazz and afflict me with it?
That's funny. I'll have to watch that one. That's awesome. All right, Pam, you read this. What do you think?
Yeah, I really appreciated this one. This was well done. So far, there's just been some amazing responses to this contest. Charlie J. Lewis is a new name to me. I'm glad he was inspired. I look forward to reading more of him. I do hope that he's inspired to write for more of our shows. I like the wordplay in this. Even the title, there is no I in this team, with the I removed from this. That like the idea of either removing yourself or removing the other person. Strong lines, amazing imagery and metaphors. I like how this speaks to me on being sick and tired of untrustworthy people, of wanting to separate the we into two eyes. The idea of, this just isn't working. I can't put my trust into you. And I thought this was great all the way through. I did like how he used the quote as a separation line, almost as if that's a physical representation of the separation between two people, the bridge that is going to be burned. And I thought there were strong lines throughout, but I did especially like that closing stanza. Very well done by Charlie J. Lewis.
In terms of poetry, I know somebody who wrote a 1-letter poem, and it was called Narcissist, and it was simply I. And I thought to myself, "Oh, you are clever. You are my favorite female poet for like the day." That was just one of the most clever things I ever heard.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, that is clever.
Awesome. Well, great job, Charlie J. Lewis. Great poem. Great read. Our next poem is by Pink Fairy 5. It's called I Choose I. And Robbie, I do believe it's your turn to read.
Okay. When you almost said Pink Fairy 5, I used to.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought of someone in a fencing fencing gear, but pink, because I love fencing and I took a couple of fencing lessons when I was younger. So anyway, I would never be in a pink fencing costume though. Okay, I choose I. They separate us, keeps us distance. They does not share feelings. They implies differences. They likes contradictions and competition. I am done with the monster of they. They is not as horrible as me. Me is selfish. Me wants his own way. Me thinks not of the needs of others. Me is selfish, self-centered, self-serving. I am done with the monster of me. We wants us to do all the same things, to smell the same smells, to agree, to get along, to lie about our real feelings. We wants unity. We wants to murder our individuality. I am done also with the monster of we. This means I am stuck with I. I make sense. I know my own feelings. I know my own mind. I do not have to defer. I choose I. End poem. It's funny with the way this is written. I wanted to. It sounded a little bit Smeagolish. I wanted to read it like Smeagol. I don't think they would have appreciated that though. That was not my intent, Robbie. Don't read it like Smeagol.
I see where you get that. I did not get that the first time I read it, but I see it now, and I agree. They probably would not have appreciated that, but I do like the way they did this. Pink Fairy 5 did a great job. The way they define the different pronouns, they, me, we, I like the way they travel through each of them and give them the different meanings. Most people think of me and I as the same, essentially. And so for them to define them differently is very interesting, and I enjoyed the different perspective of that, and the difference between they and we is it's refreshing. I enjoyed it. I very much so enjoyed it. The difference that they creates distance, whereas we destroys individuality. Me is selfish, but it's a balance. I know myself and I know how to take care of myself. It's not selfish. It's, I guess, self-preservation. But they did a very good job of that. So very much appreciated this poem and the way they incorporated the prompt and how they used the prompt in this. So very good job. Pam?
Yeah, I thought this was quite clever. I'm honestly of the opinion, and I wouldn't have read it like that just in case I'm wrong, but it feels so intentional. Like I have a hard time believing that she didn't mean to write like Gollum, like Schmeagol, only because of the fact that she mentions monster and because the poem is created in such a purposeful way. um you know but I really like how you were saying, a Monarch, that she goes through the different words like they, me, we, and I like how, to me, this looks at the idea of how selfish people can be. And the I choose I ending line, I think that takes a strong look. Like, I think that could be taken two ways. It could be someone who's very self-centered, but what I take it as, myself personally, is the idea of that this world is filled with selfish people. It's filled with all this insanity, and sometimes you have to step away from it all. Sometimes you have to take care of yourself. And I thought there were great lines throughout, but I did especially like those last two stanzas. So nicely done by Pink Fairy 5.
Awesome. And Robbie, you read it. What do you think?
Well, I had private messaged you a song that this reminds me of from Massive Attack. Again, this is something that I was talking about earlier today. Oh my God, what's happening, right? And it's called Eye Against Eye. And it kind of has like a id versus ego sort of a feel to it. I love Massive Attack. Massive Attack is just like, brain juice for me. But anyways, it's interesting with this. You could almost think of, like we were talking about Smeagol, but you could think about other monstrous figures that have like separated egos or like two sides to them, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And maybe a little bit. I haven't read the picture. I keep meaning to read the Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm not too sure if that would fit in here, but there does seem to be some separation because of the way the painting ages and that. But yeah, it's funny because in society now we do focus a lot on pronouns, not because of as much psychology, but it's because of gender and all that. But yeah, it's interesting that there is a lot of focus on like the pronouns and that and how they manifest. And that's the thing is like at the end it says this means I am stuck with I makes sense. When it has the I, it sounds a little bit more individuated. It doesn't sound quite as separated, but when it says they separates us, keeps us distance, that's the thing, is they separates us, keeps us distance, not distant. And I think like it's, you see a lot of words like that when it's the they, and it makes it feel more distanced, right, from the self, from the individual. So this is one of those ones where you could really have a fun time really like looking at it closer and analyzing how the pronouns and all that, how this ideas funnel through, and how the identity funnels through when it's we versus they versus I versus, me and all that. I think that, yeah, each stanza gets influenced by them, and if you took a closer look, you would see even more. But yeah, this does kind of sound monstrous in terms of, that's the thing. I guess it kind of depends a bit on your experience. Like, when you choose the I, is it self-defense? Is it because everyone else is being an asshole, to put it quite bluntly, or is it because you're being selfish, right? Sometimes there's different motivations and different reasons, and they can be more or less valid. And for how long you do it, and to how much of an extent you do it, it has a decreases or increases the validity of what you're doing, right? Or the harm or the benefit to what you're doing. Because, it can be good to isolate yourself sometimes if people have hurt you in that, and you need to figure out how to avoid attracting people that hurt you. But if you just keep being isolationist and just avoid people all the time, then that's not good either. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. And on that note, I think that I will get off the line, and I will go to bed soon.
All right. You have a good night, Robbie.
I will. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Awesome. Well, our next poem is by Gerald Green. It's called The Battle of We. And I will go ahead and read that. The socialist teaches the class, declaring all power is bad. Decrying the state of the land, their lectures leave everyone sad. America should be destroyed, is what they believe and they teach. Its past is a curse, or much worse, is what they expound and they preach. Most students respond and believe, convinced each professor is right. This system should soon be destroyed by those who are ready to fight. It's we who's important, not me, is what they believe and they say. Let's change laws and confiscate wealth. Let's organize and make them pay. But few in the room start to pause, uncertain of all they've been told. They question the push to divide, the fervor that's taking its hold. They wonder what truth has been lost, what voices were never allowed. They weigh independence of thought against the demands of the crowd. The wealthy, most say, should pay more, supporting all others, therefore, with taxes and fees, to pacify and please the masses prepared for a war. No billionaires should be allowed, all stuck up and pompous and proud. Let's tax them to death, they say in one breath. No human should thus be endowed. I'm done with the monster of we, preferring the pleasure of me. What's good for a crowd does not make me proud, increasing my will to be free. End poem.
Great
Pam?
read there, Monarch.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that I see that particular quote, "I am done with the monster of we," was a really great. I mean, it was chosen, it seemed, more than any other quote. It really offered up great inspiration. It's interesting that he switched in the last three stanzas, that he switched to limericks, and I have to feel like, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but it almost feels like that was done on purpose as like a physical representation of someone who decides to think differently, because he has the same rhyme scheme with 4 lines for the first few stanzas. And then all of a sudden he switches to limericks. And at the same time he's switching to limericks, it's like that message comes in that last stanza, that last limerick. I'm done with the monster of we, preferring the pleasure of me. What's good for a crowd does not make me proud, increasing my will to be free. I like how he speaks on the idea of how too many people want to follow the crowd. This makes me think of that saying that goes, be careful about following the masses because sometimes the M is silent. I thought there was great lines throughout. I like how he reminds us of the importance of having the right attitude, of being there for each other and not making it all about us. Really thoughtful lines throughout, but I did especially like, but few in the room start to pause, uncertain of all they've been told. They question the push to divide, the fervor, that's taking its hold. They wonder what truth has been lost, what voices were never allowed. They weigh independence of thought against the demands of the crowd. Wonderful lines on how important discussion is and how important it is that we learn to seek answers and think for ourselves rather than just, saying the first thing that we hear has to be the correct thing, So excellent, right? And very well done.
I agree. I like this. I like the part where but few in the room start to pause, and certain of all they've been told. They question the push to divide, the fervor that's taking its hold. Right? It's that switch where they start to question, and I have to wonder, right, especially in today's day and age, children, they start by questioning everything. Like the most common question is why does this happen, or why does this work? And I think we're so used to, or we've gotten so busy that most people don't even encourage that anymore. So we've sort of gotten into the mindset of don't ask questions. And so I like that they took that and they said, no, asking questions is a good thing. You need to not just take what you're being told as face value or as fact, right? We're humans, right, we make mistakes. And so I think this fits in more than just we versus me. This is, okay, cool, you're sitting in a classroom, you're being taught, but you should also still ask questions of what you're being taught and then make your own decision about it, and make an informed decision. So I think that was probably my favorite part of this, and I like the way they incorporated that into the prompt of I'm done with the monster of we. So I really appreciated the way they did that.
Oh, amen to that. Well said there, Monarch. And I do like what you had to say about the importance of asking questions. The idea that don't discourage children, don't discourage people to ask questions, because that's how we find out. And
Absolutely.
Very well done.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Up next, we have, hold on a second. We have Who's Really in Charge by Miss Campbell. Pam, would you like to read that for us?
I would be happy to. Let me just get back to where I need to be. All right. Sorry. Just give me a moment here, and I'll get right back to it. All right. All right, there we go. I'm just posting something. That's why it's taking so long. All right. So we have Who's Really in Charge by Mrs. Campbell. When money is a tool, you won't act like a fool. Living will be your school. To work hard is good, but not with hearts of wood. So love's misunderstood. Money should not rule you, for it holds no virtue. It reveals what is true. I've had plenty and lack, slept in mansions and shacks, feasted or lived on snacks. Money comes and it goes, no sweet smell of a rose, despite labels on clothes. Its means to an end, don't let it your soul bend, or truth it will circumvent. Money matters money matters test hearts when love grows or departs. Study history's charts. End poem.
Great read. Thank you very much. So I liked this one. I liked, I guess, the reality of this. So I think most of us have seen people who use money versus people who let money use them. And I like that she tackles this as just, work hard and use money to get what you need, but not let it become, I guess, an addiction, so to speak. So um I liked the flow of it, right? She states her opinion, right? When money is a tool, you won't act like a fool. And then she just goes on to explain it. So she's taken this concept and she's explained it just in a poem, and I think she did a really good job. It says, I've had plenty and lack, slept in mansions and shacks, feasted or lived on snacks. Money comes and it goes, no sweet smell of a rose, despite labels on clothes. And so it's one of those things where it's I like the metaphors she used. She takes both sides of the equation. You've got people with lots of money and people without. But it doesn't really money itself doesn't have substance. It doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. Um it doesn't make you happy or at that deeper level. Like, it can provide some things that provide comfort and thus happiness, but it can't, fill your heart or your soul the way like friends or family can. And so I appreciated her approach to this and the way she used the prompt. So very well done, Miss Campbell. What do you think, Pam?
Well, great comment there, Monarch. And I have to agree with you. I think this is filled with words of wisdom. I mean, it makes me think of how people always think that the saying is The money is the root of all evil, but it's really the love of money is the root of all evil. I like this 3-line stanzas. I really like that the title is a question: who's really in charge? The idea of, are you in charge of your money, or is your money in charge of you? Amazing imagery and metaphors, great consistency in tone. I see she was one that chose a different quote: money is only a tool. A great response to that chosen quote. And yeah, I like that she does, as you were saying, that she tackles both sides, that she takes a look at, that you can be happy no matter your situation in life, or you could be sad and no matter your situation in life. You can have all the stuff that you've ever wanted, and it still doesn't actually buy you what true happiness is. And, I thought there were some great lines throughout, but I did especially like where it says, money should not rule you, for it holds no virtue. It reveals what is true. I've had plenty and lack, slept in mansions and shacks, feasted or lived on snacks. Wonderful lines by Mrs. Campbell, and very well done.
I agree. Thank you. And I like that she picked that particular prompt.
Yes, me too. It's good to, for me, like when I run a contest, I do appreciate seeing what prompt people were drawn to the most, because it kind of gives me thought on what people are inspired by. But it's also neat to see when somebody goes, you know what, I'm going to choose something a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So our next poem is going to be Don't Ever Give Up What You Want in Life by Smanan Singh. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And I will go ahead and read that. Don't ever give up what you want in life by Smanan Singh 196. Destiny takes its own course once the seed has sown. Time will lead you to unfold the hidden secret unknown. You have the power to use the mind and access wealth once you are willing a living taking care of your health. The desire in your heart moves like a silent flame. Take up your cross and move forward without blame. Courage is the master key to unlock heaven's door. You have access to unlimited treasure. You are not poor. It takes sacrifice to shape the pathway to your dream. Don't look behind where the water cannot go upstream. The fragments of faith ignites the fire in your heart. Do not be discouraged to get trapped on the wrong path. Believe in yourself that every obstacle you will cross. Sometimes fate is dismissed when you cannot loss. End poem. He did not say which prompt he used, but I do appreciate the poem. This idea of reaching for what you want in life and working for it. And he used a faith-based approach to this. What do you think, Pam?
Yeah, well, I couldn't say 100% for sure, but I would hazard a guess to say he wrote to the quote, "Don't ever give up what you want in life." But yeah. I do like the faith-based approach. I thought there were some nicely written rhyme and couplets in this. You know, and that's S. Manasingh 196. That's a fairly new name to me. I know I've seen him around before, but I'm not sure I've read too much of his poetry. I'll have to check him out a little more. I'm glad he was inspired to share something. Um, you know, I like how it looks at the idea of that you are the most important aspect of following your dreams and making them come true. Like you have to focus on your mind, your heart, your inner flame. You know, don't make it about, you know, following other people. Make it about following yourself, your own instinct towards your dream, and having the courage and the desire to do that. um I thought there was great lines throughout, but I did especially like the desire in your heart moves like a silent flame. Take up your cross and move forward without blame. Courage is the master key to unlock heaven's door. You have access to unlimited treasure. You are not poor. And that makes me think of the saying about, you know, having treasures in heaven. And I think that might even be a song, isn't it? Or it sounds like it.
It
If it
might
isn't,
be.
yeah, I feel like it is, but I can't say for sure. Something, you know, having treasures in heaven. I do know I think it's also a line in the Bible, but, you know, either way, it's a nice thought of don't be so concerned about earthly treasures. Don't worry about what you physically have. Worry about your spiritual treasures. So excellent, right? And very well done.
I agree, and I do. I think that's a quote from the Bible. It talks about it, about having treasures in heaven.
Ah, yes, I think you're right.
Yeah. So I think the second couplet is one of my favorites. It says, "You have the power to use the mind and access wealth once you're willing to taking care of your health." Um, and then it says, "The desire in your heart moves like a silent flame. Take up your cross and move forward without blame." So he's basically saying you have the ability to do what you want in life. You just need to apply the knowledge you have and then make whatever, you know, life changes or shifts that you need to, and then let your desire move you and to be your motivation. And don't be worried about necessarily what like other people think of you. Just get the information you need and just do it. Um, and and I feel like he sort of he backs it with a lot of faith, but I think that's sort of his message at this point. It's have the faith and the courage in yourself to to do what you want, to get what you want in life. And so I appreciated that. He did a very good job in that. So um, very well done. Very motivational piece. So all right. Next up is a poem by Ima Rima. It's called Doing Me. And Pam, would you like to read that for us?
I would be happy to. Atlas Shrugged, the book by Ayn Rand, warned of the threat to humankind, of world kind movement that be planned to take control of human mind. Communism or masses would make individual rights wrong. total state allegiance be good, the only way one should belong. For a while, Western powers tried to fight this way of life, but when China forced its power worldwide, no stopping communism then. I am done with the monster of we, done in by China's brainwashing me. End poem.
Thank you, Pam. Great read. Awesome poem. I'm a Rima. I liked this. She tackled the monster of we, and she did it by addressing the book directly, with the describing the basic premise of it. So it's a worldwide movement, and the book is about basically the greatest minds in humanity have gone on strike because the leadership is trying to take over and it's making individuality essentially impossible. And so they're trying to get that back and to get their individuality and their ability to think for themselves, the right to think for themselves back. And I think she tackled that fairly well. She says, worldwide movement that plans to take control of human mind. Communism over masses will make individual rights wrong. And then she goes on near the end. It says, for a while, Western powers tried to fight this way of life, but when China forced its power worldwide, no stopping communism then. And so it's because someone tried to stop it, but it's and then communism took over, and it's a sort of brainwashing. I have to agree with her on that, but I guess that's perspective on that one. I know people who think raising children is a form of brainwashing, so but I appreciated the way she took on this particular prompt. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I like what you had to say. And I think people all have their different ideas. Sadly, what I think a lot of times what happens is that people think if you want opposite of what I want, you've been brainwashed. And granted, there are people who do make their decisions in life based on what other people have convinced them are right for them, but that's not every case. It's like not every person who believes or makes decisions opposite of what you think is right is brainwashed. I figured, now I didn't know for sure since like I said, I hadn't read the book, but I figured given the first title that this did give a nod to the plot line of the book and the idea of applying it to not only our individual life, but to many societies throughout history. The struggles of, I like how this also speaks of not only the struggles of the individuals, but the struggles of the bigger powers within a capitalist and world. And I also like that this speaks on the idea of how much of a struggle it can be to learn to think for ourselves when we live in a society where it is all about following the masses. This is definitely an amazing write by Ima Rima and very well done.
Awesome. Thank you. Great comment. I think it sort of nods back to what we were talking about, this idea that, we've so gotten away from asking questions of what we're told. People have sort of gotten into the habit of just taking things for what's said is true, instead of asking questions and figuring things out, which is why I think a lot of people are so prone to thinking, oh, well, that's brainwashing. It's like, no, I stated an opinion or an act as I know it, and instead of asking questions of what you heard, you just accepted it, and now you think you're being brainwashed. And so I think a lot of that could be solved by just encouraging more questions, just in general.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. Yeah. So what's going to be your book for next week?
So the next contest, hold on, I actually already have it posted. So it's Crime and Punishment is the next one.
Ah, good choice.
By Dostoevsky. It's a very good book.
Nice. Nice.
So,
I like that. Well, this has been an amazing show tonight. I don't know, did you have
that is all of the poems that I got permission to read on this show. So
all right. Well, yeah, definitely great poetry. You know, and to me, you did an amazing job tonight. And especially since, you know, this is a new you know, format, and it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but like for me, I've had quite a few bumps that I've been hitting this week. So
yeah. So I actually think I posted my next contest as a show for 2 weeks from now, just until we get it going, a routine going. But we'll probably start doing every week once
okay,
fall starts. So
okay, so you're thinking no show next week? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. Like I said, yeah, because I think that's what I did with my next one. Yeah, so there won't be a show next week. It'll be the following week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. But yeah, great prompt choices, great poetry. You know, I do hope that JoJo is doing all right.
I hope so.
Yeah. You know, his voice was definitely greatly missed. It was nice that Robbie could join for a little bit.
Yes, it was. So yeah, I'll check on JoJo again probably tomorrow and see how he's doing. So
yeah.
Anyway,
sounds good. Would you, is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up the show?
I don't think so. Like I said, the next contest is already posted. It's on Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. See what inspires you. So.
Sounds good. Great show, and have a wonderful night, Monarch, and have a wonderful night, everyone.
All right. Thank you. You too, Pam.